I'm terrible at heights. I have been since I was a small child, but somebody explained it to me very well the other day. It's what we've just been talking about. They said, you're not actually scared of heights, you're scared of death, which I am. I will freely admit to that. The point is, when you're up something high, you can fall off and die. I mean, if you go at the top of the Empire State Building and you fall off of that, you're an absolute goner. And I think those of us who are scared of heights in some way have more imagination than people that aren't, because they don't realise, they're too stupid to realise that if they make a mistake, they will be killed. Standing on a high building is a bit like pointing a loaded gun at your head and wondering if it's going to go off. It could do. You might fall off and then you'll be dead. And it's perfectly reasonable to fear that. I'm not scared of flying. I fly light aircraft. I don't think I'm going to fall out of them because there's a door and a piece of glass and so on. Same up tall buildings. But I don't like tall buildings. I wouldn't live in one. And I think this is barometric in some way. If I go into the lift of a very tall building and say, press floor number 80, I know that I'm going high up, even though I can't see. I have no visual clue that I'm a long way above the ground. Something inside me tells me, and I do get a sort of vertigo. I start to feel room spin. So I think there is an undiscovered and unexplained aspect to the fear of heights that is something to do with air pressure, magnetic fields, something like that.
What's the highest you've ever been?
The highest I've ever been above the Earth is 73,000 feet in a U-2 spy plane, so I have been pretty high. That's sort of twice as high as a normal airliner flies, and that's a long way up. And if you do fall out of a U-2 spy plane, you free fall for something like 18 minutes before your parachute opens, so you can actually exhaust your entire supply of oxygen by screaming on the way down, and then you suffocate before you get a chance to open your parachute and float perfectly safely to Earth.
Remember those old photographs of the workers in New York on the beach?
The famous pictures of the construction workers on the steel frames of buildings in Chicago and New York, sort of sitting with their legs dangling over the edge, eating a sandwich. Now, of course, if you put a beam here of the same size, they were quite big beams, we would all happily sit on the edge and eat a sandwich. So some people say, well, it's exactly the same, why can't you just do it up at height? Because if you fall off from up there, you're killed, and if you fall off from here, you're not. That's all there is to it. It's a perfectly reasonable fear of dying. I don't know anybody who's scared of depths. Enclosed spaces, yes, but nobody's scared of going into a really deep valley, because you can't fall up out of it, and it's not going to fill itself in, is it? There's no danger from being deep down, but there is danger from being high up. That's why we don't like it. In fact, I think people who aren't scared of heights aren't to be trusted. Their judgment is clearly very, very ropey. It's not heroic or impressive. It's utter stupidity. That's not like not realising that matches are dangerous if you hold them under your eyeballs or something. It's utterly thick. Even animals realise that heights are dangerous. Are any birds scared of heights? I've often wondered that. If you're a bird and you are scared of heights, do write in.
And interesting that we haven't evolved fear of speed.
Yes, there's no fear of speed, which is something I hadn't really thought about, but it's a very good point, especially speed in an enclosed space, because I suppose relative to the space, you're not moving at all, sitting on a train, sitting in a car, sitting in an aeroplane. But the fact is, we ought to be able to perceive that moving very quickly is dangerous if it goes wrong. Some people do get alarmed by going too fast in a car or whatever. But generally speaking, you don't hear of people being scared of speed. But I know loads of people who are scared of heights.